Hi again, Laura back here at Hyperstamper, and I want to show you a very special journal that's coming out this week. This one I found in a small antique store up north, and I was so excited when I found it, and I'll tell you why. This is one of the very first journals I made, and I love these images with the women with the hats. It was very common 100 and 150 years ago to do that, books for women. That were the images they used, and they would cut and glue the images onto the book. And you can see that here. Oh, I just love this book. I haven't even been able to write in it because I treasure this book so much. So when I saw this one, it reminded me of my first and favorite journal. So this one is called The Winning of Barbara Worth, and you can see how lovely that image is. Isn't that wonderful? And still intact, which is just fantastic. So let's take a little look inside here. I just added a bit of vintage crocheted pieces here and a teeny tiny bangle that you can remove if you don't want that there. And I left the inscription on the inside. And I left the original first pages. This book is from 1911. And here is the original first print image. Woman talking to a cowboy guy with a horse in the back. It's just beautiful. And then we have the publisher's date there, 1911. So I just added some antique paper here because everything in my books is authentic, antique, and vintage ephemera. I don't use anything commercial. And so I just slip in as many little journaling spots as I can. So this is on a little French page, and all my clusters are really fun and textury. I did put in a few non-antique pages, which are tea-dyed pages, so you have more room. But look at these wonderful, that's from 1904, the book Freckles, lovely image of a woman. This is what was left from a cross-stitch pattern from the 50s. And whoops, here we go, a vintage wildflower page from an English book, a 1950s magazine here with just the funnest images. And again, I always say this, but I would wear any one of these outfits now if they would just please bring them back. They're so fun. A 1950s bingo card. And look at this awesome book from 1902. This is called A Scene on the Rhine River, and it was a bit brittle, so I put it on a hinge here so you could open it, and then there is another antique book page glued down here for a little journaling space, because I wanted you to be able to see the back of that lovely page and journal on that as well if you wanted. This is from 1930 ledger page, a vintage playing card, and a 1930s Monopoly money, and this is a piece of that vintage cross stitch that I was telling you about. Cross stitch or needlepoint? I'm sorry, I don't know the difference. That one might be needlepoint. There's a little canasta sheet. You can journal on the front and the back. And then I made this pocket here out of a 1945 dictionary page, and I tucked in this little teeny tiny little booklet here, and that came from the inside page of a book. It was so colorful I kept it, and then finally used it on the cover of that little book. And it's just a little journaling spot, but I thought the little image was quite sweet. There we go, tucks everywhere. And this is another one of these. Look at the rusted paper clip is still on there, like the image residue, I should say. That's from 1960, and the hand stamped numbers on the corners of those ledger pages. Great little children's book here, page, a little puppy. And this here is on a paper clip that you can remove, and I've tucked in here. This is from 1899, this little newspaper article, and I just put it on a sticker because it was so brittle, it just crumbled in my hand. You can see just even putting it on here made it crumble, but I just thought it was precious. And that's on an old engineer's how to use a slide ruler book. It's kind of fun. There we go. And more of those pages, and another fun children's book page here. And this is a lovely vintage pattern page. And there's that wonderful 1950s Polish embroidery image here. You can see that's a collar. And flip flip side of that there, another exercise page from a school book. And I made a journaling tag here that has all kinds of antique ephemera and scrap and vintage pattern paper on there. And then tucked back in here is this wonderful 1930s photograph here. This one is of this girl's daddy. And on the back, it did not work. It was overexposed, but I didn't want to remove it and just throw it out, so it lives here. But she spent Easter there in 1932, the house on Preston Springs, where Grandma and I spent Easter. I just thought that was precious. And you can tell it's 1930s because of the Art Deco border on there, which is just so to die for. And speaking of antique, here is an antique postcard of a cathedral. And this one is, gosh, that was from the 20s. And then over here we have this really nice 1890s Demarest magazine page. And look at these wonderful images. Very old and delicate, but super special. And you can enjoy reading through that little bit of history from 130 years ago. I'm going to tuck this back in here. And I call these kinds of pockets here sweetheart pockets because they have the sweetheart cut there. And that's from a 1920s Billboard magazine. And that is that wonderful hard cardstock page from the Joyce Travelers and the 1930s French Paris Almanac. And look at this center, what do you call that? Center spread. And it's from a vintage bird book. And you can see the lovely coloring on the other side, but just really precious. There's that August French Almanac page there. And I did a little pocket here from a How to Play Bridge vintage book. A little journaling envelope here and an old vintage store receipt. And because it was on carbon paper, I put this underneath it so it wouldn't wreck everything, but you could journal on there too. Just had some fun with that. Isn't that great? And more of that Billboard magazine. And you're going to love these ads. They're so much fun. The years of vaudeville. A 1950s stamp collector's book page and a pocket here that I will be tucking in a surprise for whoever purchases this journal. Usually it's a postcard from where you're from or something that might be special to you. And please do, when you purchase one of my journals, please do send me a message or include it at checkout what you are interested in or a special day of the year, and I will include something for you at no extra cost because, you know, that's the kind of guy I am. There we go. And another wonderful children's book page there and a vintage gardening book page here. And those are the flip sides there. And the last original pages of the book. And what I always love is the end. So it's going up on Etsy momentarily. I hope you enjoyed it. Visit etsy.com/shop/hyperstamper and subscribe so you can be the first to see them. I'll see you soon.